The minority in the House has blamed the fall of the cedi on the government following a Bloomberg report that cited the cedi as the worst performing currency in the world. The minority further added that the maiden budget failed to outline clear policies to address important challenges facing the Ghanaian economy.
The minority was emphatic that the inflation rate of 13.3% in January 2017 is technical and has nothing to do with policy initiative as claimed by the NPP government. They lament the cedi has lost about 6% of its value against the major currencies since the NPP took office.
The rapid fall of the Ghanaian cedi is the most pressing concern for many small-scale and large-scale businesses. Their profits are therefore being naturally eroded. We want to call on President Nana Addo and Vice President who is doing their economics and other issues for them, as a matter of urgency and the national interest, to take immediate steps to hold the worrying decline in the value of the Ghanaian cedi.
The budget, they contend, fell short of assurances to fulfill promises made in their 2016 manifesto of the party.
Many of these promises have been broken or have been programmed to be broken. For instance, President Nana Addo promised to pay all arrears owed contractors in the first 100 days of the administration. Pay all customers of GKM, God is Love, Jasper Motors, among others, who lost money as a result of the macro finance camps in the Brown-Harford region. In particular, none of it even found space in the budget statement. This can only mean a betrayal of the significant trust that the Ghanaian people invested in them, and we are not surprised at the fast erosion of their goodwill by the Ghanaian people.
A number of promises the NPP government sought to fulfill, according to them, were not adequately budgeted for.
Key challenge.
I think first we talk of the forex market, then we can move into that.
Right. Grateful for your time, though, News 10. And my guest in the studio is the NPP's National NASRA Coordinator, Kamaldeen Abdullahi. Good evening.
Good evening, Bright.
Grateful to have you tonight. We'll also be joined on the phone lines by a member of the NDC, a member of parliament for the Dwaboso constituency, Kwabena Minta Akando, whilst the conversation goes on. But Kamal, grateful to have you in the studio. Let's start from here. So the key thing, or the first thing they raise, is that you are responsible. I mean, the NPP is responsible for the fall of the cedi.
And did they give any reasons why they
once your government is in power,
absolutely, if that is the major reason, but I think I find it very much unfortunate. But first of all, I have to say good evening to your cherished viewers out there. I would have to say I found it so much unfortunate because if you have a government that has just been sworn in,
right,
for the past almost 60 days that we have been in power, and of course you would agree with me that what has even triggered this press conference has to do with the maiden budget that the President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo, caused his finance minister to, as it were, lay before Parliament for approval. Now, if even the fiscal policy of our country, okay, the maiden one, is laid before Parliament, then Parliament is yet to even peruse it, look at it, and approve same for business to be conducted on them. I mean, for implementations and all that. Where lies the claim that the new government or the government of Nana Addo is supposed to be blamed for the woes that we are seeing in the forex market?
What about now, pronouncements by government functionaries? Because a currency can tumble if government functionaries make certain statements.
I think we should go. We should be critical here, and we should be very factual to ourselves. Bright, there are lots of factors that contribute to the fall or depreciation of a currency.
Right.
Now, demand supply is one, okay, and also I believe that indeed, if we don't have much dollar in the system, okay, as supposed to having
the local currency.
You know, the local currency. Obviously, you're going to have the local currency falling. Okay. Now, indeed, are we an export market or an import market? Clearly, again, you would agree with me that this is entirely almost an import economy. Okay. Now, if we have an import economy and this is the way it goes, then we have just inherited that. And once again, I'm saying that positing before Parliament a fiscal policy to be considered. Then the same minority, even before going into that argument, whether or not it ought to be agreed or not to be agreed on, then you come out to say that, look, we are blaming the government for the fact that they are in power and no other.
Where will you put, where would you put the blame?
Well, of course, we
where
know we're coming from. But you see, I wouldn't like us to dwell so much on politics. This NDC has done this, MPP has done this. What matters to the common Ghanaian who is watching you and I today is whether or not I'm going to get the good governance. It's whether or not I'm going to get words of encouragement and assurance from the person I have given my mandate to. It's whether or not indeed the policy statement of government in terms of fiscal policy that is presented before Parliament for consideration is indeed something that gives me hope and trust, as well as reposes confidence in the businessman in this country. Those are the matters that we are going to look at.
Then let's go there,
not
because
to just come and merely say that let's blame this government for the fact that they are in power.
All right.
For 2 months or less than 2 months.
Then let's go there. Now they claim that this budget, their Sempa budget, is hopeless.
Oh, really? That's a very interesting
It doesn't
one.
give hope.
Right. You see, on the face of it, let us not even go into the nitty-gritty of what the budget seeks to present. It's yet to be debated. It's yet to be looked at. Right. Clearly, I know it's going to go down, inshallah. However, on the face of it, look at what happened in Abosokai Market. Look at what happened in our schools in terms of the restoration of the allowances that we had. Look at what is happening also in our common markets. Look at what indeed is happening. What is the general atmosphere? What's the kind of reception are Ghanaians giving to this budget? Now, if you sit down and call it a hopeless budget, the very people you went to seeking for their mandate to give you yet another term to rule Ghana told you, look, enough of what you have done. We are okay with it. Let's try someone to. The person comes. The maiden budget the person is presenting, even if it's 1 cedi that he has reduced from the tax, as it were, revenue that the government is supposed to get, it goes to benefit the taxpayer. Okay? Now, to the extent that, going by the calculation of the minority, about 100 million Ghana cedis is even taken away from our tax, as it were, basket, where the government would have actually had about 100 million, according to their own calculation. Even if it was 1 cedi, a relief of 100 million is given to taxpayer in this country. Now the person is happy. For me, right, I sit down here, you call this budget hopeless. I am going to travel to Tamale, say I want to go by air. The 17.5% that VAT that I was going to pay, which was charged on me. Today, the budget tells me I am not going to pay.
How many Ghanaians travel by air?
No.
Just a few of us, you and me. My grandmother in the village will not go.
It's not just about me going to the airport to travel. It's about the businessman and what that businessman is going to get and what he intends to do. You know, remember, we have what we call the social responsibilities of businessmen. Right. Now, if today I repose confidence in a businessman who, of course, says, I want to operate a domestic airline, hitherto, he had no so much clientele because the fee or the fare was so high as a result of these taxes. Right. Today, those taxes have actually been taken away or abolished. Now, it encourages the clients to come on board. And when they come on board, what it means is that he's going to bargain more. And having bargained more, and there's so much profit, he tends to say, look, let me also be at least magnanimous to the people out there, or let me be charitable to the people out there to see how I can extend my courtesies or my social responsibility to the people. So your grandmother... So even though it's a few
Ghanaians, you think it will trickle down.
So your grandmother and my grandmother, who are in the village and don't even go to the airport at all, of course, if I have a company, an airline company, domestic airline company, going to say that we've identified Fanchinebra, and Fanchinebra has not got one of this particular amenity. Let's use our social responsibility to go and do something. That might benefit your grandmother. That is what we're talking about. So if you repose confidence in businessmen, you open up the market and you make it flow. And that is what we are doing.
I see. Our version also speak to...
Say, totally. No, just come and say you are taking it out. What happens to the next 3 years we have? We are moving to 4 good years. We are going to have series of budgets and not just a budget. So what are they crying foul for? What are they crying foul for? You don't just come in and say, I'm going to take it out. Indeed, we had done politics, we had campaigned on this, and of course, we have shown to the people that we are strong and we are going to be, as it were, remain firm on our promises and make sure we deliver on them. That is why the 2% is out. Why is the minority not saying that we've taken 2% out?
So
is that not an ease?
In effect, the 4-year mandate could end with the energy sector levy totally off.
We have said clearly, and I heard the finance minister put this clearly, that let's move a bit away from taxing or tax burdening our people, then go into what we call a production-oriented economy. Now, having mentioned this, I think I am so much confident that we will do better.
I'll come back to you, Kamal. But let me go to an energy expert, Kojo Poku, who has joined me via Skype. Kojo, I'm grateful for your time tonight. Now, let's turn our attention to the energy sector. What the finance minister spoke about in that sector. A lot of Ghanaians are concerned about the sector because of its what it has for the economy. Were you satisfied with the approach to dealing with challenges in the sector in order to ensure that we have energy for every Ghanaian to move on?
Yes, right. Good evening. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yes, good evening and good evening to your viewers. I think the political parties should give Ghanaians a break. I don't know what NDC is holding these press conferences for. A budget was read. The budget is read for the benefit of Ghanaians. If Ghanaians will think that the party we have voted for to take the mandate of the country for 4 years does not do what Ghanaians want, in 4 years we will change them. NDC holding a press conference to say that it is one budget, it is 419 and whatever, does not change the way Ghanaians feel. We know that if the energy levy, which the president said that he was going to start it, like the gentleman in your studio said, he has 4 years to start it. To me, I even held of the view that they should have held it the way it is, see how much we can accumulate in the 2017 year, and then going forward, we would now reduce the legacy debt, which now stands at 2.4 billion. Then we can now see if we will reduce it further. But you see, we all know that in the budget aspect, the 17% that was there raised 3.3 billion Ghana cedis. So if you keep that levy there for 4 years, it will raise $3.3 billion if you use the dollar 4:1.
Right.
That would help us reduce the debt and then be able to now sanitize the energy sector and then have a clean slate and move on. What else can we ask for? Are we trying to play politics for the government to fail so that Ghana fails, or are we trying to play politics for Ghana to be successful? Because look, in the next 4 years, with the dire situation that we have as a country, if MPP fails, Ghana has failed. It is not about somebody wanting MPP to fail and they will come back in 4 years. If we come back in 4 years, what are you coming to do?
Could you let me ask you?
Have given MPP 4 years. Please, I don't think these press conferences are healthy. They are telling Ghanaians anything that we want to hear. It's not necessary. We had the budget. Everybody, for the first time in this country, the minute after the budget, there was a PDF on WhatsApp that gave everybody who has WhatsApp a chance to actually read the budget for themselves.
All right.
Everybody who can read has digested the budget. People are happy with it. So I don't see what the press conference is going to tell us anything different from what we already know.
All right, Kojo, I'm not cutting in, but let me ask you this, Kojo. Sorry, I'm not cutting in. Let me ask you this. Now, the NPP in the build-up to the 2016 elections told voters that we will take off the energy sector levy. The minority suggesting that you didn't do it. Aren't they justified in saying that?
Because as you rightly said, they said in their manifesto they will take up the levy. They will take up the levy. They didn't say that we'll take it off in the first 4 years,
right,
or in the first 1 year, or first 100 days. No, there is a debt. Ghanaians made that debt come about, whether we like it or not. Whether we like it or not, that debt is a result.
That debt is as a result of the country being run on crude oil to give us light to sleep in. I have said it on some other platform that if you run Ghana on crude oil for residential only, every day we pay $110 million a day for residential customers only. So if we want to continue doing that and run the country on crude oil and incur more,
that is our problem. We Ghanaians have to pay. So it's not a matter of somebody wanting this thing removed immediately. Who is going to pay the 2.4 billion debt?
Kojo, I'm grateful. Kojo Poku is an energy expert there, talking to me about some issues raised in the budget on energy. And come on, I saw you.
I think Kojo raised a very important point. Now, if you have a legacy debt lying there, and I guess the finance minister did justice to that as well.
Right.
Now, if you have this whooping amount of money lying down as debt, and of course, you had said that you wanted to ensure that you find a way of getting this debt situation cured by introducing this levy, which you went to Parliament to quickly push it to be passed. Now it's passed. How much money has been accrued through this levy? Like Kojo rightly mentioned, it ought to be looked at critically.
I think the fund was at 3.3 billion.
A government which is less than 2 months old in power, okay, and you sit down as minority in opposition. Yes, we understand that your job is to oppose, but not necessarily just opposing for opposing sake. You ought to oppose because you have to oppose constructively. And I'm saying that a 2-month-old government, you come to sit down. The fiscal policy of last year is what we are still dwelling on. That's a fact.
Right.
Until you pass this,
the budget is approved.
We are still dwelling on the fiscal policy of last year. What were the projections you made? What were the movement you made? What's the inflationary rate today? What is causing our energy? Yes, you claim you had actually increased or augmented the generation capacity. Now, having augmented that, what is going to get the energy supplied to all of us? And mind you, Kojo mentioned a very important point. He says, look, you are supplying lights for domestic purposes, for residential facilities. And of course, you are supposed to be buying light crude to ensure that people sleep in lights. That is why we have said in our budget, let's move from that trend and get to a production-oriented economy where light will not just be used for domestic purposes. Light will be used for AGIs, the Association of Ghana Industries. Light will be used for industrialization. Then at the end of the day, the one factory, one district that we are trying to institute, the one village, one dump we are trying to bring about, the free education that we are trying to bring about, of course, would have this economy appearing so buoyant.
Come on. Thank you once again for
Thank you so much, Bright.
He's a national coordinator of the MPP, talking to me about the press conference held by the NDC. We'll tell you more about that later on. Thanks so much for joining us.